Hello and welcome back. You might have noticed I took a really long hiatus in there. I have lots of really elaborate excuses, but none are really good excuses. This is a hobby for me, and so I'm not really on a schedule, and when I feel inspired, I make videos, and I had a few months there where I just didn't really feel inspired to make any videos. And I was moving houses, and I had a box with my notebooks for all of my notes for videos that I was going to make and research, and that got misplaced. And I still haven't found it, so I was kind of using that as an excuse, but I thought, it's been long enough, so yeah, I'll just start making videos, and when the box of notes pops up, that will be great. Otherwise, we're just going to kind of start from scratch. I was going to make myself some tea, and my throat already feels scratchy. So let's pause and get some tea. Okay, so this video is going to be kind of a combination of spooky story time and some skeptic observations. I went to go visit my cousin, and she told me a story of something supernatural that had recently happened to her. My Aunt Rose died about 3 years ago. She battled with brain cancer for a year. And it was it was completely tragic. I mean, that doesn't need any explanation. And it was really hard on the whole family, and her daughters were caring for her for much of that time, and so they were really intimately involved and really burdened by grief. And even 3 years afterwards, still like a lot of hurt and grief around the whole situation. My cousin has 2 teenage daughters, and it was sort of a tradition for them to go with my aunt, their grandma, to go to the mall at the end of the summer season to go get a really good deal on bathing suits. So my 2 cousins and then my cousin's 2 teenage daughters head off to the mall. One of my cousins is very superstitious, and my other cousin is very skeptical, and they don't agree on much, and they don't have a lot in common. So I guess I'm going to call one supernatural cousin and one skeptical cousin, because I could make up names, but then I would just get confused because I'm really bad at names anyway. Okay, so they're at the mall with the 2 teenage girls, and this was something that they had done traditionally with my aunt, and they hadn't been since she had passed away. So 3 years later, they decided to go on this shopping trip to go find clearance bathing suits because it's the end of summer. And so they're wandering around in Dillard's into the different departments, and they're not finding the clearance swimsuits. And so an attendant kind of bustles up to them as a group and says, oh, you're lost, you're looking for the clearance section. And they were like, yes, we are. And so she tells them, the clearance section's over here, and we still have lots of really good swimsuits in the clearance section. And they were just kind of puzzled, and they were like, they didn't say anything. They just kind of looked at each other like a little confused, like, did you talk to this person earlier? I didn't talk to this person. And without prompting, the person says, oh, well, the third member of your party or whatever, came up to me and said that you guys were really lost and hopeless and that you really needed to find the bathing suit section. And then they just sort of like glanced down at her name tag, and her name was Rose Ann, which was my aunt's name. And so immediately supernatural cousin is like, this is a communication. She is here with us while we are shopping. She didn't want to miss this, annual event. And skeptical cousin was like, this is something a lot of people do. She might have got us confused with a different group that were looking. But they kind of, they didn't really bump into other groups looking. It was kind of dead in the mall because malls are dead now, but that's another thing. So as a little bit of time goes by, skeptical cousin confesses to supernatural cousin that she's been glancing at the clock often, like every day, and noticing when it says 11:11, or she's been walking around and seeing 11:11 in text and things like that. And she thought, it seemed kind of consistent, and was there some sort of symbolism behind that? So of course they hop onto Google and they discover that this is like a spooky ghost communication symbol. And so by this time, skeptical cousin is starting to think like maybe, mom is starting to try to reach out. And I'm hearing this story and I'm starting to think like, no, people just glance at clocks and see 11:11 because it like stands out. Like you glance at the clock all day long and you just noticed it when it said 11:11 because that's like a noteworthy combination. Then later that week, they are in a cafe and they're sort of waiting for lunch to come. And right next to them, there is a mother and daughter, and the mother is obviously very elderly to the point where it looks like maybe she has been checked out for the afternoon from the retirement community. She's in a wheelchair, she has a sweater on, and the sweater is very vibrant yellow, and there is a blue bird embroidered on the sweater, and so supernatural cousin leans over to skeptical cousin and says like, well, bluebirds are a symbol like of messages from, the other side. And yellow was mom's favorite color. And so skeptical cousin, sort of brushed off this comment, and their lunch comes and they're having lunch and they keep noticing the table next to them and the conversations that were going on. And that this elderly woman was not very present in like the current world. She was very disconnected. She may be suffering from some kind of dementia. As they're picking up to leave, they just kind of pass by the table and they lean to the table and they say like, I like your sweater is beautiful. This sort of perks up the woman and she looks over at them and she says like, oh yes, yellow is beautiful. Yellow is my favorite color. And then she says, have a really nice day. And then, taken aback, the cousins say, they're making small talk. And so they say like, oh yes, it's really, really nice outside. And then this woman sort of just glazes over a little bit and then says to them like, everything is okay. I'm okay. Like, I'm happy. And the cousins are just like, oh, okay. And so they kind of like slowly kind of break the awkward small talk and they start heading for the door. And then the woman with the elderly lady must not have been her daughter, because then as she's packing up, she's like, okay, well, Rose, it's time to go back to your apartment. And so they were like, what? This woman has the same name as our mother. And so then now both, even though one is skeptical and one is very believing in the supernatural, they're both very on board with this idea that 3 years after the fact, their mother has reached out by, possessing an elderly woman with dementia to tell them that she is okay and that she is happy. And I think that that's a beautiful and uplifting story. And even though I don't think that dead people can communicate with the living in such a way, I'm not gonna say anything like that when I'm hearing such a really nice and wholesome story. When I hear stories about loved ones communicating from the dead, that always implies that loved ones are somewhere else after they're gone. And like, do they not have a body? Are they floating around? Are they floating around forever? Are they eavesdropping on me right now? Like, it causes so many questions that kind of stress me out. Sometimes when I'm doing tarot cards and people will ask me if I'm like a medium or clairvoyant and can you help me talk to my dead grandma? And if I don't want to get into the whole, like, I don't believe in supernatural anything, like if it's sort of a event where I'm getting like a lot of people and I don't have time to get into it, I'll just brush it off and say like, I have enough people that bug me in my life that are alive. So I don't need to talk to dead people. Like, that's just too many people. Like, no, I cannot talk to dead people, and I am super happy about that because that would just add a lot of complication to my life. If there are dead people watching me all the time, like, I don't need them to tell me about it. Like, I do not need that complication in my life. That's the story of my aunt coming back and communicating with my cousins. Not an exciting story, but I'm guessing that a lot of people that are around your and your family might have similar stories to that. And I think the more likely you are to believe in supernatural things, like studies show that that makes you more susceptible to receiving these sort of signs. And also, my skeptical cousin, like, she was still actively in mourning. So if you are mourning someone, you're going to look for signs from that person. So it's just going to make you more open to the signs. And why not? Like, if you see a bird and it lingers and it looks at you, like, if that helps you with your grieving process, like, yeah, definitely accept that that is, a sign that everything is okay, because, like, everything is going to be okay. Hopefully there won't be as big of a space between the next video. Thank you for sticking on with me. I was going to make a video when I reached 50 subscribers, because to me 50 subscribers is like way more than I ever thought I was going to get doing this. If I had a panel at a convention and 50 people showed up, like, I would feel really good about myself. So I don't know if 50 people are going to watch this video. I'm glad to have you here with me, and, I'm glad we can hang out together. And I'm so curious about you guys. Like, are we all, like, skeptical witches, or are some of you guys here for the spooky stories? If that's the case, I'm very sorry. That story was not spooky at all. It was just sort of uplifting and nice. I haven't been able to collect any more spooky stories, so I really need to get working on that. All right, I can't tell you what the next video is going to be about because, like I said, I lost my notebook, so we're just kind of off the cuff here. But maybe that's for the best. So thank you for being here, and I hope we can chat a little bit more in the comments, because I kind of want to learn more about some of you guys and what brings you here and what things we have in common. I'm still searching for that community, so I think we should chitty chat in the comments, and, like, we're our own community. I think we're making a coven. Like, are we starting a coven? Are we making a skeptical atheist coven? I don't know. I think that would be rad. So, all right, well, I hope you have a fantastic day. Autumn is upon us. I can feel it in my bones. I am, like, so ready for it. Like, I'm kissing summer goodbye. I'm gonna get real spooky. And yeah, maybe that'll get me some inspiration so I can get some content up and going. Okay, well, we'll see you later. Bye.